All right, guys, happy Saturday. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Thought I'd hop online here real fast and go through some of the life insurance questions that are most commonly asked in the United States based on Google searches. So I'm here and I'm going to go with the top 20 questions. Let's see, what do we have here? All right, don't have anybody on here yet. Number 20, using life insurance to build wealth. I don't think that that is a good idea personally. There are certain types of life insurance that you can use, and they try to sell an investment component. I just don't think that it's a good idea, just based on the fees and the structures of whole life insurance and IULs. I think that the first 3 years of life insurance with those types of products, most of it goes to the insurance agent and to the insurance companies. I think a term policy is best suited in most cases. Like if you have a mortgage, if you have a spouse, if you have kids, a term life insurance policy is designed to protect wealth, like the wealth that you are going to build. Like if you're 35 years old, you've got kids, your goal is to get the kids out of the house, set up. That's wealth. I consider that wealth. Term life insurance is designed to protect that. If you've got a mortgage that you plan on paying off, a term life insurance policy is designed to protect that. If something were to happen to you, the money would go to your family, so the house can be taken care of. For a whole life policy, they talk about the cash value of it, right? They say that, well, it builds cash value. You can borrow against it. That is true, but the cash value really doesn't start until year three. For the index universal life insurance policies, those are not necessarily a horrible investment. I don't deal with them, but it's the same structure. The first 3 years are, it's going to go to the insurance agent and it's going to go to the insurance companies. After the third year, it does start to build up some value based on the market performance. So if the market goes up 10%, your account goes up 10%. If the market goes down, you don't lose any money. So after the first 3 years, you do start to build up a little bit of money. Along with that, the first 7 years of having one of the index universal life insurance policies, there's really no, uh, there's really high fees for taking money out. So you have to be aware of that as well. In my opinion, if you're young, if you're healthy, spend $40, $50 a month to get a term policy to protect the things that need to be protected. For an investment, I would recommend going for your your 401k, your Roth, or some mutual funds, and just use life insurance to as a protection tool rather than a wealth creation tool. So protection and wealth. So protection as far as wealth and your family, and as far as investments, that would definitely be something like the stock market, your 401k, or a Roth. So just be really careful when people are trying to sell you these really expensive products, especially if you're young. A lot of times you're just overspending for the same amount of insurance, and the investment really doesn't kick in until much later. Cheap, affordable life insurance or no medical exam life insurance? Cheap and affordable life insurance. Uh, for term life insurance, that's an easy question, right? It's definitely Banner term. I wouldn't call them cheap. I would call them the most inexpensive. They've been around for almost 200 years. They provide a large amount of coverage. Their prices are uh, the best in the country. It's a fast application process. You can get a policy usually in the same day. Most of the time, it's instantly approved. So for term life insurance, I would definitely recommend Banner. For whole life insurance, it's a little bit different. Whole life, I think, is best suited. I think whole life is best suited for people looking to cover the cost of a burial or a cremation. So anywhere between 5 to 15,000, maybe 5 to 20,000 dollars worth of coverage is the highest I would go with a whole life policy. And if you don't have any major health conditions, let's say the only thing you have is high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and controlled diabetes. There's no neuropathy. There are no side effects like with your liver or kidneys or anything like that. If those are the only things that you have, then I would recommend going with Mutual of Omaha. Now, as far as other whole life insurance companies for senior citizens looking to cover final expenses, that really depends on your medical history and the type of medications you're taking. Each life insurance company rates different medications and different health issues at a different level. So if you are a senior citizen and you've got multiple issues, the best bet is to work with a broker that would have access to multiple carriers, and they can tell you exactly what company is best suited for you. That doesn't mean find any broker. That means find someone that you can trust and that would be recommended by your friends if at all possible. Is life insurance taxable? No, it is not. So it is a tax-free death benefit. So if you have $1 million in life insurance coverage, you die, your family gets $1 million tax-free. How do beneficiaries work? Well, a beneficiary is the person you select to receive the money. So if you were married, I would assume that your beneficiary would be your spouse. So if you passed away, your spouse would receive the money, and then they could take that money and pay off the mortgage or raise the kids with it. There are no restrictions on how they have to spend the money. It's just a check that's either delivered to them or deposited into their bank account. And what they do with the money is completely up to them. Hopefully, they will use it to pay off the house, raise the kids, maybe add some investments. All right. So, life insurance when buying a house. This is not required. You're not required to get life insurance when you buy a house. You're required to get homeowners insurance when you buy a house. The bank wants to make sure their investments is covered. But as far as your investment, like your family's investment, they don't care, right? You're not required to get life insurance when you buy a house. I recommend having a policy in place to cover the mortgage. And if you're a first time home buyer, you're fairly young, it's going to be inexpensive. I'm usually around $40, $50 a month, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But I would recommend having that in place, especially if you're married. So if something happens to you, your spouse can get the house. If you are single and you buy a house, you could also get a policy just because they're so inexpensive and have the benefits go to a family member. So that could be some generational wealth on the family side. What age does life insurance expire? That is a great question. Term life insurance expires at the end of the term. So if you have a 20-year term, at the end of the term, it is expired. A lot of term life insurance has a convertibility option, or they will have a renewability period where if you have a 20-year term, it will automatically renew at the end of the 20 years at your new age. So if you're paying $50 a month when you're 35 and you turn 55 for a 20-year term, then it might go from 35 to like $75 a month. But the best thing to do in situations like that is to get a new policy if it is needed. Remember, term policies are designed to last a certain term of your life, the term where you need it. So if you still need the policy at age 55, then what you could do is get a new level term. So the price won't keep going up every year. Uh, let's see, life insurance for seniors over 50. Now, the same thing applies. A term policy is usually going to last to the end of the term, or it's going to last until the end of the term. There are certain policies that automatically cancel when you turn 80 on the anniversary of your 80th birthday, or like the 80th birthday of the policy. So just be aware of that. Like a lot of companies, or not a lot, there's a few companies that market a policy that looks like a whole life policy, but it's a term policy. It increases in price every year, every 5 years, and then it cancels when you're 80. So you always want to read the fine print, but a whole life insurance policy doesn't cancel. A term policy cancels at the end of the term, or either it is convertible or it's going to renew. There's going to be an automatic renewal. So the best thing to do is to work with someone you can trust and also read the fine print. Figure out what it's going to do at the end of the term, whether or not it's going to automatically renew at a new age, or whether or not you have an option to convert it to a whole life policy, or if it's just going to cancel. So life insurance quotes and best life insurance companies. I think I've already covered that. In my opinion, Banner Term is hands down, like without a doubt, the best term life insurance company in the United States. And I don't consider they're to be a close second. Otherwise, I wouldn't represent them, right? I have my life insurance for term with Banner Term. Now, for whole life, that is a tricky question. Depends on what kind of health conditions you have. Now, my favorite whole life insurance company is going to be Mutual of Omaha, just because they are a solid company, fantastic reviews. They're not the cheapest, though. They're not the least expensive life insurance company out there. Mutual of Omaha is not the least expensive, but they are not the most expensive either, right? So they're somewhere in the middle. And that's who I'd personally recommend if you were looking for a whole life policy. Do I really need life insurance? That depends on your situation. I can't tell you if you need it. The only time I could absolutely tell you that you do need it is if you have kids. If you have kids, 1,000% you need a life insurance policy. If you've got kids under 18, you don't. You absolutely should have a life insurance policy. Just because if the kids depend on you financially, then yes, you should have a life insurance policy in place. spend the 30, 40, $50 a month, get a life insurance policy in place, make sure that if something happens to you, that the kids will be taken care of. So yes, if you have kids, should have life insurance. If in other situations, probably, I'd say it's a probably. I think if you're married and you depend on each other's income, that you should have a life insurance policy. But at the end of the day, you're two adults, right? You can't get married to someone who's not an adult. So two adults, you need to talk about it and decide what happens if one of you passes away. If you don't like the outcomes of that from the financial standpoint, then you probably need it. I would also recommend it if you get a house, just to protect that asset, protect that investment for your family. I would recommend that. I think that is a need as well. For senior citizens, it's a little more tricky. Like I said, whole life policies I think are best suited for final expenses. Now, if you're a senior citizen, you have the money to cover the cost of your burial or cremation, then I say you probably won't need it. If you've got, let's say, you're on a really fixed income and you can't afford to have it, but your kids are making a lot of money, then I would probably shift that to your kids. Now, if you don't have the money to cover the cost of your burial or cremation and your kids can't pay for it either, then yeah, you probably need a life insurance policy in place. But the only time I'm absolutely adamant about someone having life insurance is if they have kids under the age of 18. I just think that um, it's almost parental mismanagement not to have a policy. It's just so inexpensive. It's so quick to get, um, and it does so much protection for the family. How long should I get life insurance for? 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years? Great question. The straight up answer is as long as you need it. So if you're paying on the house, if you got in 20 years, if your house is going to be paid off, if your kids are going to be out of the house, you're going to be retired. I'd say 20 years. My personal recommendation is to go for the 30-year term, and then if you at the end of 20 years, if you don't need it, you can always cancel it. But I like to have that coverage in place for a little bit longer, right? I like to have it in place until at least retirement. That's my recommendation. So if you're 35 years old, get a 30-year term. That'll take you all the way through to retirement, and that will also protect you if you get any kind of medical issues that exclude you from a term policy at year 20 or something like that. So my recommendation is 30. Term life insurance versus whole life insurance core comparisons. All right, I think I've covered a little bit of this, but a term life insurance policy is a typically a very, very large amount of coverage, usually 100,000, 500,000, million, goes up to $15 million worth of coverage. And the cost is extremely low, like extremely low. Like it's a very low monthly payment for this coverage, but it does expire. So at the end of 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, it's going to expire. And I think I covered the fact that it can either be converted or renewed at that time. But what it's designed to do, what term policies are designed to do, is protect your family in the times that they need protection. So while you're raising the kids, while you're paying off the house, while you're building up the retirement account, that term policy is there in case something happens to you and your income is no longer going to support the family. So what the policy is designed to do is to pay your family in the event of your death. So all of the things that you wanted to get accomplished. That's what a term policy is. It expires. That's why it's so inexpensive, but I highly, highly recommend those. Now, whole life insurance policy, they do talk about the investment aspects of it. I disagree with the investment aspects of it. I think a whole life policy is best suited for burials or cremations for senior citizens. That's my opinion on those. A whole life policies last your entire life, right? So they never cancel, they never expire, the prices don't go up, and they're much more expensive. For example, you can get 10 times the amount of term coverage for as opposed to whole life for one fifth of the price. So term will give you 10 times the coverage for one fifth of the price. Whole life insurance policies are more expensive because they don't expire. Best suited for burials or cremations. What are the different types of life insurance? I'm pretty sure I've covered that, term versus whole life, and then the universal policies, which are linked to the market. So if the market goes up, your investment aspect goes up. Remember, it's after the first 3 years, right? In the first 3 years, you don't have any money in there. But after the first 3 years, the money that you have will go up with the market. So if the market goes up like 15%, I think it's capped at 10 to 12%. So your account will go up by 10 to 12%. And if the market goes down, your account stays the same. It doesn't lose any money. This is typically best used for people that already have their 401k maxed out, their Roths maxed out. Maybe they even have some side investments, and this is more of a supplement to their investments as opposed to a primary investment vehicle. I think most of the time I see people who get this is probably going to be income ranges over 200,000, maybe 250,000, and it's just an additional investment. Should you get life insurance? That is a great question. I think it's when you decide you need it. In my opinion, I think it should be if you get married and you depend on each other's income. I think you should get life insurance. If you buy a house, I think you should get life insurance to protect that investment. If you have kids, I think you should absolutely get life insurance. And the final one is for retirement. I think that is one time to look at final expense. Like I said, if you don't have the money to cover the cost of burial cremation and your kids can't or won't cover that, then that would be another time to look at it. But typically, anytime anyone depends on you for financial support, that would be a time to get life insurance. Do you need life insurance for a mortgage? No, you don't. I think I covered that one before. You're not required to insure yourself to protect your family. It's not a mandatory requirement. The banks are going to be fine. They've got the homeowners insurance, and if you miss a payment, they would be more than happy to collect the house. So it's not required. It's recommended, but not required. How do I find out if someone has life insurance? This is a great question. Uh, I always recommend my clients putting their life insurance policies in some place where other people know about them. Like in a safe or in like a filing cabinet, some place where people know where it exists. Now, if you go to those places, you've got a family member who passed away, and you go to those places, you don't see it. If you have access to their banking accounts or credit card history, check and see if there's a monthly withdrawal from a life insurance company like Mutual of Omaha, SBLI, American Amicable, John Hancock, Foresters, uh, Banner Term, Pacific. See if you can see a withdrawal from one of their accounts for this payment. And if you can't find that, then you would have to wait until you get the death certificate, after the funeral. And you can go to the NAIC website, and you could provide them with the information, social security number, death certificate, and they will do a search for you to see if there was a life insurance policy in place. Okay. Okay, how to get buy life insurance. All right, well, this is a pretty straightforward question. How to get it? I think that one of the best ways is to work with a broker, but I understand the reluctance to do that. If you want to do it on your own, you could always go to a carrier website. I always recommend going to a carrier's website. Don't go to one of those forums that say, "Hey, there's a free 25,000 or free $40,000 policy available for you," or go to those websites where it says, "Get a quote now," an instant quote. Like anytime they ask you for your phone number, email address, your personal information, they are going to sell it. They are absolutely going to sell it. They're going to sell it to multiple people, and they're going to call you all day, every day until you talk to an agent. After you talk to an agent, they're not going to stop calling because it's sold to multiple people. So they're going to keep calling even after you get it. A lot of people think like, "Hey, I'm finally going to talk to one of these people. I'm going to get the policy," and they're going to stop calling. That is not true. So if you want to get a policy, find a broker that you really trust, you can work with. They can help you get a policy. Or if you want to do it yourself, I would go directly to a carrier's website. Like some of the ones I mentioned before. If you are a younger person, I would go to Banner Term, hands down, for a term policy. Pacific's a good company, Prudential, Protective. These are all really good companies for term life insurance. Go there, and most of the time you can get a quote without talking to someone. If you're a senior citizen, that's where it becomes more tricky. Unfortunately, if you're in relatively good health, I would just go to Mutual of Omaha, pay like the extra $5 to $10 a month for their policies. Other companies for senior citizens would be American Amicable, SBLI, um, John Hancock, Foresters. There are several other companies out there for senior citizens. All right, but whatever you do, do not fill out one of these online forms that promises they're going to give you an instant quote, because they will not. All right, let's see. Life insurance for parents, common for adult children covering agent parents. Yeah, this one is a good question. For this, if you've got an elderly parent and you're looking to have something in place for burial or cremation, it would be the same answer as before. Mutual of Omaha provided their health conditions, obviously. If they've got multiple health issues, I would go with find a broker that you can trust and they can pull up different companies for their needs. But I would probably wouldn't go any higher than the cost of the burial or cremation. I wouldn't, unless they have a mortgage and they're in fairly good health. Then you can maybe look at a term policy in that situation. What does life insurance cover? Inclusions, inclusion, death benefits. Well, life insurance, there's several things it covers. I mean, it's a check that's sent out to your beneficiary when you die. Like, so you die, your beneficiary gets a check. They can spend that money however they deem, right? Like however they see fit. They can spend the money in whatever way. I think this question is more about the death benefits, inclusions, exclusions. In the first 2 years, there is a contestability period. So if you die committing a crime, or if you maybe you misrepresented some information on the life insurance policy. Let's say whenever you applied, you said you were 6'1", 160, and whenever you passed away 1 week later, you were 5'7", 290. Then there might be a contestability for the policy. The insurance company might say, hey, this doesn't match up with what was given to us like 1 week ago. If you die committing a crime in the first 2 years, a suicide in the first 2 years, those usually take away the death benefit. After the first 2 years, the contestability period is over, and then it comes down to the exclusions, right? You have to read the fine print to find out what the exclusions are. Sometimes if you rob a bank, that's an exclusion. So you have to read the fine print as far as that's concerned. Some of the riders available, you can add a small policy to your kids for like $5 to $10 a month, unlimited number of kids as long as they're over 6 months old, and as long as they're under 16. Excuse me. You can have a policy on them that'll last until they're 26 or until you turn 65. Most companies have that. There's the accelerated death benefit, which I think is typically it's not an extra cost. At least with Banner Term, it's not. So if you're diagnosed with a critical illness, then you only have 12 to 24 months to live. Then what they'll do, they'll advance 75% of your coverage to you in a check up to $500,000. So if you have $1 million worth of coverage, they will send you a check for $500,000. And then when you pass away, your family will get the remainder of that fund. And that there's no extra cost associated with that. How much life insurance do I need? Typically, for a term policy, I would say 10 to 12 times your income. That's a pretty good starting point. Now, if you get that quote, if you get a quote for 10 to 12 and it's too much, try starting with just the debt, right? So if you've got a mortgage, you've got some credit card debt, consumer debt, all this stuff, find out how much the coverage would cost for that, and that is a good starting point, right? So if your spouse didn't have any debt in their life, would they be able to survive on their income? That's a good place as well. How does life insurance work? It is a legal contract between you and a life insurance company. It's a state and federally regulated contract between you and a life insurance company. Your end of the contract is simple. It's to make the monthly payments, the premiums, and their end of the contract really depends on what kind of policy that you have. But typically, their end of the contract is if when you die, they pay you, right? That's pretty straightforward. Let's see. What is life insurance? A peace of mind. I think it's peace of mind, really. Let's see. What is like I said, it is a contract between you and a life insurance company. And if you make the payments, that's your end of the contract. Their end of the contract is to pay your family if and when you pass away. So that's the top 20 questions. I don't have anybody here, but I can also go online here and do a search for some of the most common questions here online. Maybe somebody will hop on. I'm not sure. Let's see. Here we go. Recently posted life insurance questions. That's what we got. All right. GoFundMe is not life insurance. That is correct. Yeah. A lot of agents post stuff like this. It doesn't do any good, man. Yeah, someone's not going to see this for like the 1,000th time and then like, oh, I need to get it. No. Like after they hear it for 1 million times, it's like, what is it? They're desensitized to it. Yeah, the only time people are going to think about life insurance is if they actually sit down and think about their own death and what kind of financial impact that's going to have on the family. If they sit down and think about it, or if they have someone that in their friend group or family group that's their age or younger, they pass away and they see the ramifications of them not having life insurance. That's when people really start to make the moves for life insurance, which is unfortunate because it's fast, it's easy. It's like 15 or 20 minutes, and you can protect your family, right? Especially your kids, right? $50 a month, 15 minutes. I mean, there's almost no excuses to have a GoFundMe. I mean, I hate to sound rude about that, but let's see. My adult son recently passed away. His final wishes were to be cremated. The funeral home is charging. Oh wow! So this says my adult son recently passed away. His final wishes were to be cremated. The funeral home in Dawsonville charges $2,700, which I don't have. Can anyone direct me to a more affordable way of accomplishing his last wishes? That is unfortunate. Oh, I'm so sorry for that. That is. I would suggest maybe like setting up a GoFundMe account for friends and family to make contributions. I think that would probably be the best thing. With 2,700, it shouldn't be too difficult to raise that money. All right, so someone's in here talking about Hillary Clinton. I don't think that's life insurance related. I've talked a lot of people who do not have life insurance outside of their job. What happens when you leave that job? Or no one cares, dude. No one gives a rat's ass. You can preach it to the choir, man. No one's going to see that and like, oh, I never thought of that. It's just not going to happen. It's not. They're not going to be like, oh, this like I said, I should get it. No, it has to be an internal thing. It's kind of like religion or spirituality. It has to be internal. You have to actually feel what happens if you don't have it. A life insurance agent posting on there about the ramifications is not gonna move the needle at all. At all. It's just not going to happen. But yes, I will address this question. What happens if you leave work? The life insurance is convertible. Typically it's a group policy, well, which means that the cost is based on the average age of the employees working there. So if you got 50 employees, the average age is like 25. Then the cost will be based on that 25-year the average age, and it's usually less expensive than life insurance in the private sector. So you get the coverage, but it's less expensive. Typically, employers give you $50,000 or one time your annual income. Sometimes they do allow you to buy multiples of your annual salary, and that's great, right? Like it's inexpensive. I would recommend getting it. I would in no way, shape, or form recommending that be the only life insurance that you have. I think that life insurance should be the icing on the cake or the toppings on the icing on the cake. You should be in control of your policy, and it is not expensive if you're young. If you got kids, it's $40-$50 a month, not massively expensive. And then you would also have this as a backup plan. So, all right. See, I can't get life insurance because I have sickle cell anemia. Yeah, that is one of the conditions that they do not like. But I have not worked with anyone with that condition. There might be some companies out there that would issue a policy if if it were controlled. Let me take a look at that. Actually, I am going to go with how old is this gentleman? How old would you say? Let's see. He doesn't look like he's old. I would say in his 30s. So I can take a look at say 35. We'll do. And this is just a rough estimate. I want to see if there are any companies out there that would do that. I have not been exposed to this before. I've not had a client with sickle cell, but we can find out. Okay, sickle cell. All right, we're going to go for, let's say, just a $250,000 policy and see if there are any carriers out there that will actually insure him. That is not an option. So it doesn't look like there are any term life insurance companies out there that will insure him. Let's see. Okay. Oh, this is for, I do apologize. That was for whole life. Let's see. We're going to go with sickle cell. We're going to do $250,000 worth of coverage just to see. The state really doesn't matter. We're going to say he is Let's say this gentleman is around 35. He might be a little bit older. We're going to give him a decent BMI. And we just want to see what this is going to be. Let's see if there are any term carriers out there that will. Nope. There are not. There are not any term carriers out there that would cover that. As far as a whole life insurance policy, we're going to check and see if there are any whole life companies. This might be an instance, unfortunately, where a younger person has to get a 2-year waiting period. Now, it looks like Lincoln Heritage does offer coverage for sickle cell anemia. It's going to be a smaller policy. They are a fantastic company. I do not work with them, but I have heard nothing but fantastic things about them. But like the amount of coverage that he's eligible to get is going to be reduced. It looks like $30,000 for $77 a month from Lincoln Heritage. So fantastic company. Their prices are a little bit higher, but they are a top quality company. So let's take a look here. Well, okay, let's see. So life insurance agent, okay. Someone posting this. I'm not sure what that is about. Life insurance only matters when someone dies. Many modern policies can help while you're alive. And this is the living benefits thing. That's just a new selling point for an old product. Typically, those are designed to massively increase the cost of insurance. And if that's something you want, then by all means. But my recommendation is to get a policy that's going to do what you want it to do, and then with the difference of that money, invest it or put it in a savings account. Banner term does have the accelerated death benefit, so that is technically a living benefit, where if you've got the critical illness, they'll advance your money. Other riders that they claim they're living benefits, like disability benefit, where they will pay the cost of the coverage for 6 months to a year. That's expensive to add that on. But yeah, that's I would really read the fine print for those living benefits, because that's just a new talking point. People haven't heard that for about 10 years, so now they're bringing it back. It's the same old stuff. Life insurance, how long have you been with them? Me, I've been doing life insurance for about 10 years. What do we have here? Good life insurance. Question mark. Let's see how many. State Farm. Oh, and we got a business card. We always get business cards. Eating an apple here. My wife and I planted some apple and pear trees a couple years back. It's starting to yield fruit, literally. I think we dropped like $200 or so in 4 trees, because you had to have the male and female for each one. The pears are ridiculous. Oh, so many pears. I don't even like pears. Got so many pears back there. So many. Yep. All right, here's more. All right, think about life insurance. This is what matters. No one is going to see this and say, "Hey, oh, I didn't think of that. I've never heard that before. I have never heard of that before." None of these posts are going to get through to people. They have to actually think about what happens if they die. Until then, I mean, you're just talking to a brick wall, essentially. Here's a card, but there's like, there's tens of thousands of life insurance agents. I mean, they come in all shapes, sizes, genders, and colors, but they all look the same. I mean, they all sound the same. They all walk the same. They all talk the same. They have the same script. They do the same stuff. So, I mean, what sets Kilborn Insurance apart from anyone else? I'm not knocking on Kilborn. I'm just saying this is in general. Why men need life insurance? Life insurance is a smart way to buy money for pennies on the dollar. I disagree. Okay, final expense. Yes, that is good. Income replacement. Yep, I like that. Health coverage, disability support. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Wow. Okay. All right. Here's a challenge for 0 people in there. Let me give you a quote for a $500,000 life insurance policy, and then where it's gonna be like 40 or 50 bucks. And then you talk to this person and you see, let them give you a quote for a life insurance with all of those riders. And let's see how much more that's gonna be. If I had to guess, probably like at least 5 to 6 times more. So instead of paying $30 or $40, you'd be paying $250 or more for that. But I mean, yeah, if you need them, that's good, right? Like if you need any of this stuff, okay, cool. Income replacement, okay, yes, that's a basic of life insurance. Final expense, that's a basic of life insurance. The healthcare coverage, life insurance can provide money for hospitalization, so you can place. That's going to be expensive right there. That is going to be extremely expensive for healthcare coverage on that. And you should already have like a health insurance plan from work or Affordable Care Act or whatever. You should already have that in place. Disability support. It can provide you with payments. It usually covers the cost of the policy. Um, Long-term care is a different type of insurance. So that's a good policy to have. Long-term care in conjunction with a life insurance policy, especially once you hit around 40, 50, or 55. Typically, you can get a long-term care package. I don't deal with those, but relatively inexpensive. You can get maybe $50, $60 a month. That way, when you hit like 75 or 80, and if you have dementia or something like that, and you need some long-term care, they will offer, I think, 2 to 3 years of long-term care in one of those nursing facilities where your family won't have to come out of pocket. Also, it'll give them time to save up in case you need additional care. So, a tax-free retirement supplement. That's an IUL. So it looks like they're just offering different products lumped into one, and that's just not how it works, guys. My long-term care, tax-free income, disability, healthcare coverage. I mean, those are different types of policies. They're not lumped into one, nor should they be. You need to have life insurance. Don't let your last memory be a burden to your loved ones. Eh, is that going to move the needle, guys? Not an inch. Not an inch, guys. 0 likes, 0 shares, 0 comments. Not moving the needle. All right, this person got some traction. One of the biggest misconceptions about life insurance is it's something you can get around to later. Yeah, the truth is, the younger and healthier you are, the more options you typically have. That is true. That is the truth, Miss Rachel. I agree with you. If your health changes, your option changes. Absolutely, I agree. Um, all right, so she wants to schedule a quick 10-minute call with her. No pressure, no obligations. Okay. No one's going to call Rachel. Maybe they will, though. Hopefully, her family does. Hopefully, she's got some friends that are looking, and she'll find some of those. Hmm. All right, she's doing the personal touch. I like this. All right. What does she have to say? What do you guys think? Don't just buy a policy, build a plan. Look, life insurance. I mean, this is like life insurance. Term life is so simple, right? It's so simple. But you see the GoFundMe's all over the place, and now you're asking people to set up a plan. I just want them to have their kids covered, right? I just want to make sure that if something happens to them, their kids are covered. And now you're asking too much. You're asking too much. Life after retirement. You're asking too much. Client protected. Okay, application approved. Good for you. Mm, all right, that's good. $250,000. I'm not sure of their age. The price doesn't seem to be completely unreasonable. $250,000 worth of coverage for $46 a month. I think that's a little high, depending on the age, though, right? I don't know how old they are. Um, Accelerated death benefit rider. Yeah, that should be built into the policy, I think. But it doesn't show whether or not she had to pay, or he or she had to pay more for that. But yeah, I mean, that's not an unreasonable cost for it. I think it's, depending on the age, it could be a lot less expensive. How family trusts work. Okay. Life insurance made simple. Protect what matters. Yep. All right. This person's listing their companies. Okay. Good for you. Mutual Omaha. That's a great company. Well done, sir. Forcers isn't bad. America. Oh, what? Not a huge fan of America. Gerber. That's good, but I would just add this onto. Like if you got kids, I would add it onto a term policy that you have for a little bit less. Guaranteed Trust, that's for people with critical illnesses. Aflac, I haven't heard anything bad about them. Liberty Bankers, I've heard good things. Corebridge is a great company as well. Transamerica, I hear mixed things. I can't make a judgment on them. Like I hear really good things and I hear like some bad things, so I'm not sure about Transamerica. America is typically more expensive, like it's really expensive. Like you're going to pay twice as much for an America policy as you are for a Mutual Omaha policy. Um, so there we go. So if I had to pick and choose, I would pick Mutual Omaha. I'd pick Corebridge. Uh, Probably GTL here. Uh, they don't have really any term stuff. Well, Corebridge does do terms as well, so I would go with Corebridge. Fairly good prices on terms too. They are a little quick to the draw on the medical exams though. Like they're quick to the draw on the medical exams. So yeah, they are a good company for that as well. So yeah, I would go with I would pick Mutual Omaha, Corebridge, and yeah, maybe Gerber. Maybe Gerber. I think America might be good for Parkinson's. I think that's one of the conditions that they are fairly decent with. Okay, most people think life insurance is when you die. That's a nice stress. I like that. Uh, let's see. Yeah, for some reason, a family don't overlook the importance of insurance conversations. For the love of God, yes, you are correct, DJ Shelton. DJ Shelton is 1,000,000,000,000,000% correct. If you have kids, like if you made a human, if you produced a human, then you should have a life insurance policy on yourself to protect said human. I think the reason why more parents don't have it is the fact that they don't want to sit down and talk about it, even for 5 minutes. Like if they sat down and talked with each other for 5 minutes, like, hey, babe, what happens, if I die tomorrow from the financial aspect? Then I think once they realize the jeopardy or the potential calamity that could transpire in the event of their death, they would very easily and quickly go and spend $50 in 15 minutes to get a policy in place. But let's see. She said yes. Now we're saying yes to life insurance. Well, yeah, maybe. Like, just being married, I don't think it's an absolute necessity. I mean, I would do it. I did it when I got married. I got a life insurance policy just to make sure my wife wasn't going to be left destitute if something happened to me. But I really think having kids is the more important time to get life insurance. I do think if you're married and people depend on you, you should have it. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's two adults, right? I mean, I would do it. I would definitely have it. All right, let's see. Look at my company paid out 300,000 death claim. Okay, that's pretty cool. That is actually cool. She's got an actual check that was sent out to a family. Now, Primerica, I told you, I hear good things, bad things about them, but in Transamerica, but so I can't really make a call on them. But yeah, this is a check, right? This is looks like it's an actual check from the life insurance company to someone who passed away, to a family member of someone who passed away, right? And $300,043.56. Why is that 43.56 important, right? Why is that important, everybody? That's important because that is the amount of money they paid per month for this policy, right? So they paid the 43.56 a month. How do I know that? Because they probably had a $300,000 policy. They were drafted an additional payment after they had passed, and the life insurance company said, "Okay, we're sending that back in conjunction with the 300,000." So they were paying 43.56, which I think might be a little high, but hey, that's a good price. And their family got $300,000. Now that 43.56 could be in their checking account right now, and the family would have gotten $0. This is I like this. I like this, Needy. I like this. You sent put a check on there. That's fine. This is why you do what you do. This is why you have kids. You break down and go online and get a policy. It's fast. It's easy. It's inexpensive. All right. What do we have here? Which is better for death of a spouse, insurance for a mortgage, MPI, or life? I would just go with life insurance and like mortgage protection's essentially the same. I think their riders would they have a few riders where they'll pay the mortgage for like 12 months. That's very expensive. But a life insurance policy will accomplish the exact same thing, right? It's exactly the same thing. $500,000 life insurance policy or 500,000 mortgage protection, they're going to do the same thing. Life insurance policy without all of those riders is probably going to be significantly cheaper. I will die for my child. I will go to jail for my child. Bet you wouldn't get life insurance for child. True, true. Yep, that is 100% true. Let's see. Just because people don't like to think about it, I don't want to villainize people who don't. I'm not going to villainize people who don't have it, right? They just don't think about it. I think it's something you should think about though. I think like the every other situation, I will excuse. I will excuse if you're married and you don't have one. I'll excuse if you got a house payment, you got a mortgage, and you don't have one. But the one time I can't excuse it or I can't really feel that passion about it is if you have young kids and you don't have it. That's where I for me personally, I think that is where it's the absolute most important. All right, so what do we have here? Monthly payments 159. Good God, what does she have? Oh, come on, not one of these people. This person's selling an IUL to a 28-year-old. Oh boy, I'm just gonna skip that one. I'm gonna skip that one, guys. Oh. Life insurance payouts usually not taxed the way people fear. I don't think people fear it. People don't have it, right? They don't. How can they fear what they don't have? No one's thinking about this. Yeah, it is a tax-free death benefit. It absolutely is. So, $1 million, $2 million, like whenever you die, they get the money. They don't pay taxes on it. Okay. Critical illness or critical injury. Okay. All right. Someone put in their business card. I like that. They did a big one too. Look at that. Look at the size of that business card. Levette Magnus. I like the last name. It's cool. I'm just having fun, guys, because no one's here. But towards building a financial house. Okay, application. Oh wow, look at this. 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure. That might be the grandmother. 3 kids. Yeah. All right. So that seems to be the end of the questions on YouTube. Haven't had anybody pop on. Let me see. Is there anyone here that is? No, there is no one around. I think it could be the widescreen. I don't know. But yeah, I hope I answered all the questions. If I can summarize, there are different types of life insurance. My recommendations for senior citizens is if you're looking for a life insurance policy, go for something that's going to cover what needs to be covered, like between $5,000 to $15,000 for the burial and cremation. If you're younger, 10 to 12 times your income. The biggest time that you need to get life insurance is if you have kids under 18. I think that is the absolute crucial time that you should have life insurance. All the other times, I think it's nice to have it when you get married, to have something in place for your spouse if something were to happen to you, especially if they depend on your income. I think you should have it then too. I think you should have it if you have a mortgage in place to protect that. I think those are really good times to get life insurance. But having kids, if you've got kids, if you made the human, you need to have a policy in place to protect said human in the event of your death. Now, if you haven't thought about it, just sit down for 5 minutes with your spouse, your partner, and try to figure out what happens from a financial standpoint if something were to happen to you, right? And if you don't like the results, if you don't like the outcome of what will happen, then take the 10 to 15 minutes to fill out an application and the $50 a month or so, maybe less, maybe more, to get a life insurance policy in place. Right. So it's really, I know a lot of times it seems like it's complicated. You get a lot of these misinformation ads online. They're designed by data brokers. I've done video after video on the fraud that they commit on a daily basis as far as their advertising. I know you get a lot of phone calls if you submit submit one of these requests for a quote. They're going to call you nonstop. That's why I do this. I try to bypass that system for people because I know I would not want to get 30, 40, 50 calls a day from someone saying they want to help me, you know? Um, and if you're a senior citizen, my recommendation would be if you're healthy for Mutual of Omaha, and if you have a few health conditions, try to find a broker that you know or trust, or you can trust and have them go through and help you out. And make sure it's someone that you can talk to that doesn't try to force you into a policy that you don't know, you don't want, need, or understand. So that is it for me from this for this broadcast. Thanks for the one person that stopped in for a half a second. I do appreciate that, even though there were no likes or how dare you, sir or madam. But anywho, I'm going to go off on this one. I'm probably going to hop back on from a cell phone so I can have a better angle. I think I get more engagement and more people online from that. And it's possible that I could go online for Facebook as well. And it's maybe I will go see some live music today at some point. But till next time, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. No obligation, no spam calls, no pressure, none of that. Just answers. Just answers.